Well, if you want an answer, but sure, you can talk as long as you like.
Taoiseach, the issue that dominated the general election that brought this government to office was the issue of the housing crisis. And in the programme for government, you promised action to address that crisis, particularly on the area of homelessness. And you said reducing and preventing homelessness is a priority for this government. And you said we recognise in particular the challenges of homeless-facing families. Now, I'm just off the phone from a young, vulnerable and very frightened woman. It could be somebody else on another day, because I have such phone calls virtually every day. But this is a woman with 3 children who her landlord is evicting her on grounds that a relative is coming to live in the house, and she'll be made homeless on the 30th of June, as will her children. Her teachers report that her children are now crying in school because of this, that one of them is now requiring counselling. She herself is being seen by a psychiatrist, and she's being told all she will get is homeless emergency accommodation in Dublin city centre, approximately 15 kilometres away from where she lives and where her children go to school. It is absolutely shameful. And that's... Now, I wonder what preventing homelessness in the programme for government means to her. Because I'd like to be able to say, actually, this government has a priority to stop you now going into homeless with your children. I'm also struck by another case that I've mentioned a few times of a mother who is now 3.5 years in homeless emergency accommodation. She works herself with vulnerable children as an agency worker for TUSLA. And because you have refused to raise the income threshold, she's now not entitled, even though she's in emergency accommodation, to even housing assistance payment or to social housing. And she's wondering, where is the priority to get her and her child, who is now also getting counselling, out of homeless accommodation where they've been stuck for 3.5 years. And she's been told, actually, she's not even entitled to any housing support. So what do you say, or what could you pass a message back that I should tell them what the government is going to do for those 2 people? Just to cite 2 examples, because I'm telling them at this stage that I'm in such despair that the only thing they can do is get out on the streets and march on June the 18th as part of the Cost of Living Coalition, because the government isn't listening. Now, if that's not true, give me the advice to give to them about how they can get out of being homeless.
First of all, could I say that I've been very clear, and I've repeatedly said in this House, that housing is the single most urgent and important social issue facing our country at this moment in time. And through the Housing for All, we've provided action in terms of a very wide range of initiatives on the social housing front, on the homeless front, and on affordable housing also, because access to housing is fundamental to our security, stability, health and progress as a nation. There's no doubt about that. The government's in office 2 years. We had 2 lockdowns, unfortunately, which did impact on construction, although we managed to keep quite a number of social housing projects on the go. And this year we'll see, hopefully, and we're heading there, a record number of social houses built ever in the country. But we need to keep that rate going every year. I can't comment on individual cases that I'm not familiar with the detail on, but supply is the vital part of this. And we need to build more houses of all types as quickly as we possibly can. That is the key intervention. We've provided the resources. It's 4 billion now per annum will be provided to enable the construction of social affordable homes. And we've also, for example, taken significant action on voids, of making sure that local authority houses bring their voids, empty houses back as quickly as we possibly can. And over 6,000 voids have been brought back in the last 2 years as a result of the Minister's initiative on that. We want to get to certainly 33,000 a year. I think the target this year is around 24,000, and last year it was about 20,000 was achieved, which, given COVID, had an impact on that. What's interesting is March to March, we've had the highest number of commencements ever, and that's at about 35,000. Now, the war in Ukraine, the cost of materials, commodities, inflation is impacting. But the recently cooperative framework for tenders that the Minister for Public Expenditure announced will give some capacity to try and finish projects and enable people to tender for new projects. On homelessness, that is a very key issue for us. And again, the Minister has taken a lot of initiatives, particularly working with the sector and working with all the non-governmental organisations in respect of homelessness and the approved social housing bodies, to do what we can to provide homes for the homeless and to prioritise in terms of housing first and so forth. The current level of family homelessness is too high at 1,308. It's 26% below the peak figure recorded in July of 2018, but it is increasing. And there's a range of factors behind the homelessness numbers increasing. It's not as simple or straightforward as sometimes gets articulated. And our priority will always be to do what we can, working with the non-governmental organisations to increase the supply. Deputy Cian O'Callaghan raised the issue of divestment of schools, and we operate a pluralist model. Plebiscites are held in different locations in terms of new schools, for example, and certainly where it we want to see more divestment, greater plurality, greater access, and there's significant investment has been allocated to Educate Together, for example, and that will continue. On Board Planala, sorry, the Minister has appointed a senior counsel to investigate the issues that have been raised in respect of Board Planala in terms of the one individual there on the board, and that report, I think, is important that we allow that report to complete without further comment until the senior counsel brings it to finalisation.